2,000 architects and engineers met in San Francisco demanding a new investigation.
So, Jesse, you're the first guest I've had where we're still arguing in the breaks. Let's get to your conspiracy theories.
I'm unique.
Let me ask you.
Sure.
John F. Kennedy's assassination.
Yep.
Who did that?
It was done by William Harvey, who was the head of the CIA's assassination unit at that time. David Morales was directly involved in it. He likewise is the gentleman who killed Che Guevara down in Bolivia in '67, where they put him up against a firing wall and killed him and shot and killed him. Morales was part of that. I believe that because I saw, heard, and read a confession from E. Howard Hunt on a deathbed to his son. And when he confessed, it was not a confession of remorse. It was a confession of pride. He wanted the world to know that we helped you out. We killed John Kennedy, this communist sympathizer.
But Jesse, aren't you being slightly naive? People can say anything on a deathbed to immortalize themselves. When I die, I might say, you know what, I don't want anyone to know about my long-standing love affair with Elizabeth Taylor. Doesn't mean anything, does it?
I can be slightly naive, except the fact that you're not going to convince me he could make those shots.
Why?
Because I tried them, and I'm an expert marksman. He wasn't. And I couldn't do them. I couldn't even work. The fastest I could work the Manlichuk Arcano bolt was 8.5 seconds. And they're telling me he got 3 shots off in 6 seconds with that bolt action piece of crap weapon. I tried it. We simulated the whole thing. I couldn't do it. And I qualified expert at age 50 when I was governor of Minnesota yet.
Did Neil Armstrong land on the moon?
I don't know.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think he did.
Why would you believe that?
Because we have the technology to get there.
We have the technology to investigate an assassination.
Sure we do, but we don't.
Well, we have thoroughly.
When a coup d'etat takes place, there can be no trial. There can be no investigation. You want to know another reason why it's a farce? I'll tell you why, personally. My mother, before she died, she had a big trunk. And when she died, in the bottom of that trunk, she had every Minneapolis paper of that weekend that John Kennedy was killed. This was in Minneapolis's Monday morning paper. That means this is '63, so it had to go out early in the afternoon of Sunday to be in the Monday morning paper. And you know what was down in the bottom? Dallas police declare case closed.
Come on,
now,
Jesse.
It's right in the paper.
Jesse.
Oswald, Kennedy's killed on Friday. Ruby kills Oswald on Sunday, and the Dallas PD says the case is closed. They haven't interviewed a witness. There was no confession, but the case is closed.
Well, newspapers...
Come on, Piers. What type of investigation is that?
I have never, ever heard anybody suggest the investigations were closed on the Monday within hours.
It was in the paper. Dallas police
you believe everything you read in the papers?
I did then.
I have rarely encountered a man who believes less about what he reads in the papers. And now you want me to base your whole conspiracy theory
Not my whole.
on the fact that you've read one line in your mother's newspaper from the time?
I've studied John Kennedy for 25 years, Piers. I'm not basing this on reading one line in the paper. I'm basing this on reading everything I could get my hands on.
Let's move to 9/11. Your theory of 9/11 is what?
My theory of 9/11 is that we certainly, at best, we knew it was going to happen. They allowed it to happen to further their agenda in the Middle East and go to these wars.
So just to clarify, President George Bush knew that 9/11 was going to happen, that 3,000 people were going to get murdered.
They had all the information. If you looked at the NSA documents, if you look, well, put it to you this way. The August 6th memo was pretty clear.
Yeah, but do you genuinely believe, Jesse Ventura, that President George W. Bush knew 9/11 was going to happen?
No.
Why do you say it then?
No.
Well, why do you say it?
But I believe Dick Cheney knew it.
Really?
Yep.
You believe he knew it was going to happen?
I believe they had a good... Well, why did John Ashcroft quit flying commercial planes that summer and switch only to private planes? Why did that happen?
You don't honestly believe these people, do you? I don't believe you believe that. You don't honestly think Dick Cheney knew it was going to happen. You can't do.
Do you really believe, Piers? It's not irrational.
I said it's not rational.
Excuse me. Do you really believe that evil people can't be in charge of governments? If you do, go talk to the Germans. They know a little about that evil people can get in charge. The governments are run by people. People can be bad.
So Dick Cheney is involved, Ashcroft's involved, all these people got together and planned 9/11. Come on. Madness.
Oh, that's madness. But you'll fully accept that 19 Islamic radicals armed with box cutters taking orders from a guy in a cave in Afghanistan could defeat our multi-billion-dollar air defense system, which the Russians couldn't do.
Jesse, that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened.
Really?
Unfortunately, they exposed a massive flaw in Homeland Security.
And what was it?
The flaw was that these guys had been training and often aiming to go one way, aiming to land planes in a certain manner. In fact, not even land them. Wanted to take off but not land. All these were clues that this was a weird set of circumstances. I'm afraid that's exactly what happened. And the trouble being a conspiracy theorist, I've got great respect for you, and your book's very readable. The problem is, once you start buying into these theories, you never stop. And with the internet these days, there's a theory about everything.
Yeah.
Do you believe Princess Diana was murdered?
No, I don't look into that.
Well, what do you think?
I don't know. I haven't studied it.
Isn't the tendency of a conspiracy theory it breeds other conspiracies?
No. I only go into things I study. I've studied 9/11 for 3.5 years now. And it's my expert opinion. As a demolition expert, I was trained by the best the U.S. government has. I served 3 years on Underwater Demolition Team 12. 2 years I was attached to SEAL Team 1. And when I look at the buildings and how they fall and the way they fell, they couldn't have come down without being assisted in some manner. And then I counter...
You don't believe when two large planes hit the World Trade Center, hit both towers, and they explode, that couldn't bring down two buildings?
No.
And that the debris couldn't bring down a third building?
The Empire State Building was hit by a plane, and it didn't collapse.
It was a tiny plane that hit the Empire State Building.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
Tiny. Well, the World Trade Center buildings were tested against Boeing 707s, which are bigger than the planes that hit.
Well,
and the way it was designed, if it was punctured, it was like a screen door. It would cause damage right where the hit was, but this uniform collapse. And then when you look at the powder, if it collapsed, it would collapse in big chunks.
Jesse,
Then I was at the site 2 weeks after it happened with Governor Pataki, right? And they had to cease digging that day. You know why? They were finding pockets of molten liquid metal underneath. Now, if everything took place, Piers, 150 floors up, why was there molten metal underneath?
It
requires 3,000 degrees to melt metal.
Jesse, you're a patriot. You're a good
I don't know if I am.
You consider yourself to be a good American?
I've been a mayor, I've been a governor, and I served 6 years and was honorably discharged from the United States Navy.
Do you accept that some people, many people, will be listening to this and consider it to be quite offensive, what you're saying?
What, to question government? I think it's quite offensive not to question government.
No, not to... It's more than...
I think it's offensive to sit back like a zombie and accept everything you're told.
I get that. But when you're telling the American public, as you are right now, and indeed the wider world, this airs around the world, that Dick Cheney, Vice President of the United States...
Well, I'd like some answers from him.
Yeah, but you didn't just say you want some answers. You said he knew and was responsible for the biggest atrocity in American history on his home ground. You believe that?
No. I'll just say it happened on his watch, so they're responsible
So he didn't know?
I don't know.
Listen, we're going to take a break so that we can all just deep breath, calm down. Before we go, just clarify me one more time, because you said Cheney knew, and then he didn't know. Did he know or not?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there. But I certainly have questions for him that were not answered.
I get it. We'll be back after the break. Thank you, Jeff.
WikiLeaks' release of classified information has generated a lot of attention worldwide in the past few weeks. The hysterical reaction makes one wonder if this is not an example of killing the messenger for the bad news.
Exactly.
That was Congressman Ron Paul talking about WikiLeaks. I'm back now with my guest, Jesse Ventura. Jesse, you said exactly, so you agree with Ron Paul there?
Absolutely. In fact, if you would have continued with that statement, Representative Paul, as you know, I dedicated this book to him. He's the only one there that has the courage that'll stand up. He made the great statement that in a free country, when telling the truth, you can get charged for treason, we're in big trouble.
Even if you've stolen the information?
The stolen information, excuse me, we all pay taxes. All that information is paid for by my tax dollars. I have every right to know how my taxes are spent, how every single penny of it is spent. I have the right to know that. They're using my money.
You served in the Navy.
Yep.
Would you have been absolutely happy for every private memo involving your Navy SEAL group to come out?
No, but there's a difference.
What's the difference?
But the difference is
you're paid for by the taxpayer.
Yeah, but it could jeopardize the mission initially.
WikiLeaks couldn't?
Once the mission's over, you're not jeopardizing it.
You don't think anything published in WikiLeaks could possibly jeopardize
well, wait a minute. Now,
lives or military operation?
Well, let's go to this young man that's in prison right now.
Bradley Manning.
Bradley Manning. I hope they're giving him his rights, which I don't think they are. They're holding him. He can't talk to a lawyer.
On that, I agree with you.
All right. Bradley Manning, the first thing he released was that helicopter murdering those people. Murdering them. So now Bradley Manning's in jail, but the helicopter murderers are still free. They're fine. So apparently leaking this is more important than committing murder.
Like I said to you.
Wait, Piers, answer that for me.
No, let me...
Answer that for me.
You haven't answered my question.
All right.
My question
But I've been answering all of them. You haven't answered one yet.
I'm interviewing you, Jesse. That's the way this works.
Not with me.
Well, that's the way it works with me.
Well, butt heads then.
Well, hey, look, I can answer perhaps for my brother, who's a British Army colonel. And when I discussed WikiLeaks with him, he says that the impact of releasing private memos, private reports from the military when they're in operations is incredibly dangerous.
All right, go to my book. Sure,
I believe you agree with that.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But go to my book and see. Currently, our government every year declares 16 million things top secret. 16 million. I would say that's about everything. So what do we get to know about?
But my point is...
My point is, when they're abusing what's secret by classifying everything they do, the public can't see. Read in the back of the book what some of the great founders of this country said about secretive government.
Did you believe it was in the public interest that WikiLeaks revealed, for example, that Colonel Gaddafi had 4 mistresses?
I could care less how many women Colonel Gaddafi has.
No, but do you think, is it in the public interest to reveal that information?
I don't know. It's gossip. That doesn't bother me.
But when you were governor, you hated that kind of gossip against you and your family. In fact, you detested the media that spread any kind of gossip about your family.
They didn't spread gossip about my family.
They did about your son, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, they trumped up charges on him.
Right, but what I'm saying is that kind of family gossip, private life stuff, isn't that where the line should be drawn with WikiLeaks? Why do you support everything they put out there? Given then you were so vocal about any private material coming out about you.
Then why is it okay for why is it okay for them to expose my private stuff?
I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying if you felt strongly that your private life was your private life, however much you think badly of Colonel Gaddafi...
Well, somebody had to write about it, didn't they?
Why is Gaddafi's private life public interest?
What you're at here is a classic example of killing the messenger, not the message. If it wasn't written in the first place, there'd be no message, would there? So somebody wrote it to begin with. Shouldn't they be the ones who have put America in danger? It was the ones who wrote it?
No, because the whole point of being a diplomat is that when you report to your governments around the world... Wait, let me finish.
Then we're in sad shape when diplomats have to sit and lie, when they have to write things that people aren't allowed to read, and if they do read, they take offense to. Well, I would say that's part of the big problems of the world today.
Which were the lies in WikiLeaks?
I don't know.
You just said they were lying.
I didn't say they were lying.
You said for the sad day when diplomats lie. Where were they lying?
I'm saying when they're saying bad things about other people. They wrote it.
But they weren't
all it was exposed.
And my point was they may not be lies.
So in other words, Piers, you figure let government keep everything secret.
No,
it's all okay.
No.
It's all okay.
No,
because somebody in government has deemed this top secret.
But
so therefore, hands off.
I don't.
Because we don't dare know a thing our government
does. Don't put words in my mouth.
See, that's what you're doing to me.